Come to Satsang. Someone made a comment and they asked if there is a pattern to the, because I get hundreds of emails from all over the world, people asking me questions about the spiritual life. And one made a comment, he says, is there a pattern to these questions? Is there something that you can talk about, how they follow, and so that everybody gets an idea, you know, about the nature of questions, the nature of answers or whatever. Anyway, so I said, oh, definitely there is a pattern. In fact, from the letters that I get, 90% are personal. And this is people who haven't fully realized yet who they are. So we think we are a separate individual. And so there's a lot of stuff that happens because of that. And we're going to talk about that. And then there's another more advanced second pattern. People who ask the meaning of things. You know, what is now, what is love? What is the difference between living a scripted life to creating your own reality? Because that has been a very big question to a lot of people. The Course in Miracles or other very advanced teachings, they say that the script is already written. You know, it's predestination. And yet, we hear all the time from the New Age teaching about create your own reality. Is there a conflict between the two? Is there a conflict between the two?
No.
Not at all. But it seems to be, isn't it? But okay, we can talk about that too. So anyway, so what are questions? There are three. There's a middle, and there's a beginning, middle, and end to how these things form. Okay, we're going to discuss all three, and then we're going to talk about some questions that people have actually written, and we read them and see how clear we can get, you know, when the mind asks questions or has problems. In other words, the topic today is seeing a little clearer. Okay, so let's take the first stage of questions. Okay, the first stage of questions is that people are always seeking. You can't help that. You're always seeking because you think you are an individual, separate person. So you're always trying to improve. You see, you're always trying to get better, you know, and we have forgotten that you are a human being. And in fact, you are a being playing the human role. And when you forget the being is being. It's effortless, it is now, it is complete, it is whole. There's nothing to add to it, but because you think you're an individual and you forget the being, of course, a lot of problems occur. I feel empty, I don't know where I'm going, I don't know what it's all about. I've accumulated $1 million, I'm very successful, and I'm still feeling empty. What's wrong? Of course, we have forgotten our true nature. That's what's wrong. So in the beginning, the very first stage, it's filled with seeking. It's full of seeking. And the seeking takes on endless forms. Seeking relationship, I don't know, seeking greater knowledge, seeking more money, seeking greater success, seeking to make yourself a little bit better than you were yesterday, and it never stops. This is endless. Is it wrong? No. You can't help seeking. Seeking is the very nature of the human being. Because that's what drives us towards finally finding, because what are you seeking? Yourself. All the time you're seeking yourself. Wherever you go, there you are. You know. So the seeking is inevitable. And then we enter the middle stage of the seeking. And this happens to everybody. And as you can see from the hundreds of emails that I get every time, I took just a few today. This is what the seeking does. The seeking begins a subconscious thing that says, I am not fulfilled. There is something wrong with me. I am not complete. I am not whole. I am missing something. And it's fine, but if this is combined with your childhood, the first 6 years of your life, and the way you've been brought up, and if they haven't been very loving, well, now we're going to get a very complex mind. Because the moment you start thinking there's something wrong with you, there's something you're missing, you begin to dwell on it. This dwelling on it creates a pattern. Okay? This pattern becomes a reality to you. The moment it becomes reality, you don't question it anymore. It is real. So now it's affecting your life. When something becomes real and you don't like it, you try to overcome it. Now listen to all this process, how it goes on. This is what creates all the problems that we know. You know, psychic attack, nervous breakdown, and so on and on, even chronic problems. So, where were we? Yeah, so this creates a pattern. This pattern becomes something, very, very strong belief in you that this is the way it is, that this is how I am, and you keep separating yourself all the time. So it keeps on getting worse and worse because, again, that's what the nature of the subconscious. Whenever you plant a belief in the subconscious mind, okay, it becomes real. And you begin to see it everywhere. Some people say, yes, people are against me. Look at it, look how they act towards me. Of course, because whatever you think, whatever you believe manifests. And you create the very environment in which you are creating through your belief system. That can be helped because we manifest our reality. This is where it comes. Can I create my own individual reality? Oh, yes, you can, because it's all mind. You see? But it's still imagination. It is still not the, you know, the real essence of you, the essence which is the being. So then, from this pattern become all the problems. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think I'm going crazy. Finally, I found a job I really loved and I sabotaged it. Why am I doing this? You see? All these things are created because of these thought patterns. And then we can go to a third stage. And the third stage is called presence. This is the only solution because there are no answers to life. If you think there are answers, then you are deluded. Okay, I studied psychology and there were many answers in psychology. But it's all dealing with the mind. But there were words, they're just words. You cannot read a book and say, I am realized. You know, because it is all a matter of the heart opening, it's not the mind. The mind can have billions of information, bits of information, but that doesn't make you any richer. What makes you rich is the heart, the ability to love, to feel joy, to appreciate each moment as it is, not what you achieve or control, but just because you are a being. So the third stage, of course, is the presence. And today I'd like to talk a little bit about how we can overcome the strongest addiction and the strongest fear that we can have. You see, and I've discussed it many times before, but today I'm putting it into a nutshell, and I call it the awareness of what is happening. Sometimes it is also called quantum healing. You've heard of the word quantum healing? Quantum? Quantum comes from the word cellular. You see, if you were going to heal something because your boss is bothering you, because people are against you, because you're losing money, then you think it's all out there. That you cannot heal that. The thing is that you are experiencing. You are the one who's experiencing your life. And so the quantum healing, or what I call going into the very cellular memory, is to actually take it inside you. Okay, and you can heal it even in... I've had people heal in a session or two. Recently I had 3 people. One recent man was about a week ago. And all 3 are heavy smokers. I'm just going to give you an idea how we use quantum healing, okay, or what is called cellular memory, by bringing awareness. And they're heavy smokers. And so the first thing I ask when they write me is, how do I stop smoking? Now, please, you're not going to apply this to any addiction, okay? But I'm talking about these because it actually happened. And smokers are very addictive. They try to stop, and they have patches, and they do this and they do that, and it doesn't work. So the first thing I ask someone who asks me, do you want to stop smoking? I say, do you really mean it? Do you really want to stop? Because it's a very strong addiction. Now, what is strong as an addiction is this, that if you are a heavy smoker and you smoke regularly, if you try to stop, no matter how strong your will is to stop, you'll fall again. Why is that? Because you build up an image of how relaxed you feel when you take that cigarette, okay? Because smoking to you is a way of relaxing, of enjoying the moment. So, so if you very strong in your will and say, no, I'm going to stop, you might stop for a few days, but you go back to it. And you go back to it and says, to hell with it, I enjoy it so much, I'm going to go back. You see, because the subconscious mind is still conjuring up pictures of how wonderful it feels. So how do you deal with this? Using the very same method, cellular memory. So this is what I said to quite a few of them. I say the same thing. But this particular man, he's a very heavy smoker, but he seemed sincere because he had a form of cancer in his prostate. And he was afraid that maybe this is what caused it, and blah, blah, blah. He had many ideas. So he was sincere in wanting to stop. So I said, well, he said, Burt, how do I stop? I said, don't stop. I said, what I want you to do is be aware. Be very, very aware. Because one thing all addictions have is unconsciousness. Okay? They go unconscious. So you do it without realizing you're doing it. It becomes an escape. It's unconscious. So now become conscious. Next time you reach out for that cigarette, just think in these terms. You're reaching out for this filthy weed. You're gonna put fire to it. And then you're gonna put it in your mouth. And then smell that smoke. Feel that smoke going out. Picture everything. Be as real as you can in the moment. Be one with it totally. Total awareness. As you smoke that cigarette. Be one with it. I said, don't try to stop. And don't tell yourself that you're not going to stop. Or you're going to stop tomorrow. Just do this. Well, it did even the next day. He already began to lose desire to smoke. After a few days he wrote me back and he says, all of a sudden the desire stopped. It wasn't there anymore. It stopped. You see? The same thing, for example, right now, there are many young people, especially young men, who are addicted to pornography. And it has become another addiction. And they're making millions from this on the internet and etc., etc. And this is a stage that the world has to go through. We all have to, things come for this change because this is how we change. You see, we have certain morality that has come about from our religious training. And so a part of us wants to be free. So we go overboard. You see? This is what happens. So it's okay to go overboard, but when you deal with it, you've stepped really full without making it wrong. And right now you have learned more and be free of it. See? So in the same way. So do we understand what we mean by cellular healing? Okay, you bring total awareness into it. Now, one of the most common things that people suffer from is the pattern of thinking that has produced a reality that now you believe so much that it's real that you have stopped loving yourself. Okay? Maybe you didn't feel love, maybe things have happened, or you've been rejected, you know, by your lover or whatever. Anyway, something has happened to make you actually not love you. Okay? And how common is it not loving yourself?
Totally very.
Very. Very. In the beginning, it's almost everybody. It's part of a stage everybody goes through, because we believe we are separate individuals, and so we feel threatened by strangers or people we don't know, or we feel this separation. Shyness is a form of self-hate. Feeling inhibited is a form of self-hate. See, feeling easily threatened, easily hurt, easily offended, these are all a form of not loving you. Because when you love you, you just enjoy. You live in joy, you're free. Because you're not even conscious of yourself anymore. You see? So this is where the cellular healing comes in. Now suppose a person is suffering from panic attacks. And these are very common. And I get them every day in email. But I thought I'd talk about it to actually, you know, to make people understand it. Now, ordinarily when people get these panic attacks, they go to a psychiatrist and give them drugs. Or they go to a doctor who might do the same thing. These don't work. Okay? A person can actually transcend their panic attack even in 1 or 2 simple sessions, comfortable without being threatened. How? Through cellular awareness. Okay? See, one thing that we forget is that we are aware being. See, from awareness came consciousness. From consciousness was the ability to think. From thought became the thinker. The thinker then made the thoughts real. When they became real, they became emotions. Emotions, motion of energy. And then you begin to feel it in the body. So when you have an emotion, you feel it in your body. Your heart feels as if it's going to explode. You know, you feel this incredible, you know what I'm talking about panic attack, anxiety attacks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good, because these are quite common. So this is what is happening. But when it happens like this, the one thing that people do when they get into an attack is they try to get rid of it. How can I deal with it? How can I sleep better? So they take drugs to go to sleep. But you see, the more you fight it, the more you fail. The more you resist it, the worse it gets. The more you say, how do I get rid of it? But this is driving me crazy. Yes, it's driving you. You're driving yourself crazy by trying to get rid of it. It's a vicious circle. Okay? Why? Because our nature is being, to be. And we forget that. It is relaxation, it is surrender, it is acceptance, it is loving, it is forgiveness. You see, we forget that. We never pay attention to that. So now what we need to do is go back from the way it has come all the way into an attack, how we have made it real, and reverse it. This means that you have to really at least respect yourself enough to be still enough to experience it, re-experience it as it actually is. So this means that if you feel an attack coming on, the first thing to do is to take a couple of deep breaths from here. You take a few deep breaths. Why? Because that calms you. Okay, that's very, very calming. When you do that, after a while, then you begin to actually feel the sensation that's going on inside you called emotion. But this time you listen to it. You don't try to figure it out. Okay, you don't try to make sense out of it. You don't say, why is it there? You don't try to understand what it's doing. Nothing. You experience it as it is. Are you understanding what I'm saying? This is very, very important. To experience it as it actually is. Okay, in other words, you are looking at the sensation as if you are an unbiased observer, a detached observer. Okay? So you experience it. This is what's going on inside me. You don't try to get rid of it, you don't fight it, you don't deny it, nothing. You just be one with it. Well, the moment you do that successfully, you're almost over it. And chances are, if you're very successful in total awareness, because awareness brings instant healing. You know, the reason it does that, because this is one thing, like if you're studying spirituality, there's only one thing to know. And psychology doesn't teach you that, because it's beyond its scope. Okay? Your true nature is awareness. You know, and you know that you know. Got it? Just like I said many times before, awareness is self-recognizing. How do you know you exist? How do you know you exist?
Because I know. Because I know.
Okay, because you know, because you're aware that you exist. Excellent. Okay, so this is how awareness works. You see? You just know. And that very knowing is not you. It is the knower in you. In other words, when I say it is not you, I mean it is not the ego. That's what I'm saying, okay? Because it is you. But it is who you really are. Who you really are is a knower. It knows. Because it is. And it recognizes itself. Okay. So when you apply that awareness, you are back to your primordial state, to your true state of being. So in the beginning, you've identified with a thought. The thought has become, you know, very real to you and become a belief, and now it become an emotion. So what you do is these emotions that you're feeling, you reverse the process. Okay? There's an emotion. You bring it back how much you believe that this is real, was taking over. You try to get rid of it. You try to control it. You try to resist it. You don't do anything. You just watch it. You bring it back to a thought process. And then through that awareness, you bring it back to its original state, which is just awareness. And that creates the healing. Now, so we talk about how to deal with all questions. All questions are a quest, they are a seeking. You're always seeking yourself. I'm just making a summary now, okay? You're always seeking yourself. This can be helped. This is not egoistic. In other words, this is not, in a way it is selfish, egoistic, yes, but I mean, you can't help it. It is part of it is part of the growth process. And then when you get to know that and you accept that, and that's the beautiful thing, is that everything is one. So even the emotions of self-hate, and hear this, even if the emotions of self-hate you accept, that very acceptance brings it back to one, because that oneness is called love. Got it? So whatever you bring to one, even that which is fearful, even that which is negative, you bring it back to that one. Love is big enough, strong enough, powerful enough to absorb everything and still remain love. Because you can love anything. But the moment you hate something, resist something, you get away from something, you try to overcome it, it gets worse. Okay, so we're always seeking ourselves, you're always trying to find yourself, and the results will be, of course, suffering. What is called psychological suffering. Psychological suffering means that you create a time sequence. Because in the now you cannot suffer. We know that, right? When I say now, I'm not talking about the present time. The present time is not now. Okay? When I talk on Skype, the time is totally different. Pacific time and Eastern time, totally different. There can be 5-8 hours difference. The space is totally different. But the now, as we are talking, is now. It is not the present time. Because the present time here and the present time there is totally different. The space is totally different, but the now is always now. And the now, when you understand it, awakens you. You see? All explosion, all awakening is realizing that now is all there is. And now has no exit. Now never ends. And it never began. So all suffering has to do with what happened in the past, and you made it real, and what you fear will happen in the future. Oh, what's going to happen to me now? You see? Automatically, because the past always brings the future into it. And we forget the now. But if you live in the now, the past and future, they still exist in the sense of an idea or imagination. The past is gone and the future is not yet. But the point is that you know that the only reality you have is now, this moment. And when you live in this moment, so that the past and the future are totally irrelevant, that's how you also bring healing. You see, suffering stops at that point because there is no suffering in the now. It's not possible because suffering has to do with time, consciousness. So therefore that's the second part, you know, the type of love, because in the beginning you're always seeking yourself, which means that you are seeking love. Okay, you're always seeking love because you are love. The only thing that makes you feel good is love. I love sitting down, right? I love reading. You know, I love walking. It doesn't matter. Whatever you love, always you love. Because your nature is love. Love is always the completion. So the second part is that when you don't love you, you're still trying to seek to love you, but you don't know how to go about it. You think you need to overcome something or achieve something in order to be loving. It has nothing to do with that. It's only to be. You see? But you don't know that. So the result in number 2, the results are what is called sickness. You know, emotional problems. You know. And number 3, the only way to heal, and there is no other, and it's becoming more understood now worldwide, hopefully, that in a few years' time everybody will be doing quantum healing, because it's the only way to heal permanently, you see. And it brings the understanding of you, because at that point you love you, you know, because you see how beautiful you really are in truth. Okay, so now we're going to read a few emails that people have written, and we're going to see how it fits into this pattern. Do we understand all 3 steps? Okay, so who would like to read the first email? Yeah.
I got one here.
Okay.
That you gave me earlier.
Okay.
Hey Burt, I've emailed you a few days ago about my conditioning. These few days have been up and down. I've let go, I can feel love. I can feel oneness, and then it leaves and my fears and conditioning have taken over. If I am aware just to let them be, that it's okay, but my fear is that I'll be control and power seeking. It's also led to depression. I have no energy. I feel sadness. I've created right now, I am just sad, depressed. It's not much, but I feel blocked, like I don't know. The fear also led me to believe if I accepted it, I'll be in an ego perception and I won't be one in love.
Okay, did we hear this?
Yeah.
Okay, now would you like to say how it falls into those 3 points that is what we covered? There's a lot of seeking taking place, right? There's a real need to change. But there's also very clear there's no self-love there. Okay, now the last part was the most significant. Okay, read again the last part. Because there was, I think they heard self-sabotage, right?
The fear also led me to believe if I accepted it, I'll be in an ego perception and I won't be one in love.
Oh, okay, okay. There's afraid of accepting herself Because if she accepts herself, I am miserable now. If I accept my misery, then I'm going to remain miserable. Do you see? Do you see that? And this is the belief in many people. They say, well, accept yourself as you are. It's true. If you accept yourself as you are, that's love. But then people would say, but I'm so miserable. If I accept myself as miserable, I mean I'm going to remain miserable now? Do you remain miserable if you accept your misery? Why not?
Changes. Practically forgive yourself.
That's right, because there is self-forgiveness. That very acceptance itself is a self-forgiveness, believe it or not. Because your nature is love. You see? So the moment you accept yourself, I'm okay. Just the way I am, I'm okay. You know, and you're not kidding yourself, you really begin to feel it as you say it. That becomes a self-forgiveness. And that actually drops the pain that you created against yourself.
It's like there's nothing the mind can chew on either.
And there's nothing, that's right.
So
that's right.
So the thought passes, or the situation, the state passes, because the mind can't engage in a nothingness.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I love that, the way you put it. Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah, you give nothing for the mind to chew on.
It's almost an addiction, is it?
Yes, yeah, it's all, yeah, self-hate is addiction, negative thinking is addiction, these are all little addictions. When people are complaining all the time, it's become an addiction, yeah. You let me know when this is so.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, these are all addictions, they become a pattern, you see. People who sabotage themselves because they believe that they were unlovable or abandoned, you see. So they don't feel good enough. So whenever life begins to give them a lot of good stuff, either they get sick, they cannot do it, or something happens that will keep them from the very thing that they wanted to get. This is called self-sabotage. Okay? We destroy the very thing we wanted because we don't think we're good enough. You know, just like a guy meets the girl of his dreams, you know, and to him this is everything. Finally he's with her, and then he begins to feel like she's too good for him. It's too good, you know, she's not gonna love me, she's gonna leave me anyway. So he finds an excuse or something to sabotage the relationship. Crazy? Yes, but it happens all the time. It happens all the time.
But it's usually subconscious.
Oh yeah, oh, it's subconscious, yeah. Like we don't know we're doing it. No. As a matter of fact, when people sabotage themselves, they say, why is this happening to me?
Again.
You know, again. Right.
Should we read another?
Yes, please. Could you read another? Yeah.
Subject, anxiety. For about 10 months I had panic attacks. It started suddenly. I had some thoughts in my mind like, are all these I see real? Who am I? Is it a dream or reality? And a sense of aloneness. It happened suddenly. I am 40 years old. When these thoughts arise, my logical mind reacts, and right away I have a panic attack. The other thing is that my mind wants to explain everything. What is that I see now? What am I? What is this? What is that? And I can't feel happy. Please help me. How can I deal with these things? And if you know how hypnosis can help, sorry for no good English. I will wait for your reply. Thank you.
You got an excuse for not being able to read.
Yeah, well, these are from all over the world.
Yeah.
Right. So, you've all listened to that letter, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it very clear now? What's happening?
It's the same as the other one,
You
right?
see how
Yeah.
easy it is to understand? All questions, one you understand, 1, 2, 3 that we have covered. Okay? Now we don't even have to go into it, but if you'd like to, is there
another one?
is there anything that is not clear in that one? what he or she was asking. No, you don't have to read it again. I mean, we all heard it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything in it that needs to be added, other than what I've said?
Basically, it's just believing in thoughts in general. That's causing suffering in that one.
All suffering is caused by thought.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But how do you stop thinking?
Just notice. Just
Okay.
notice the thinking.
Just notice the thinking, and that would stop the thinking?
If it's done often enough.
It really doesn't stop the
You
thinking.
can't stop thinking,
You can't stop thinking.
but you don't buy
I
into
mean
it.
the identification.
You don't
of
buy into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's thinking. And it's not who you are. Did you know, there's another thing too, which is very, very powerful here, you know, and quite a few people will combat that. They'll be against it, but eventually as you keep on exploring it, you find it's true. No thought is real.
Yes.
Thoughts are not real. Why? Because they're thoughts. They're just thoughts. And when we say is not real, let's be specific about that. What is real is that which is constant, that which never changes. That is real. Thoughts come and go. Not only my thoughts are different from yours, but yours are different from everybody else too. So this means that the thoughts are only real to me. So if I see that they're only real to me, then they're not really real on a universal way, I can simply let them go. If I begin to really see that they are not real, even if you really have a doubt, like these are not real, okay, at that moment.
We don't even let them go, do we?
No, you don't let them go, no.
When you don't
No.
give them the attention,
You don't give them the
they
attention.
pass.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And always saying to yourself that this is okay, this is just thinking. You see, you don't give it that importance, right?
Insight. Insight is not thinking, is it?
Insight is not thinking.
It comes from a
Now
different place.
these are areas that we can talk about, you see, because some people talk, what about intention?
That's feelings.
What about
Intuition.
intuition?
Oh, intuition.
Okay. What is intuition?
It's direct insight.
From the heart.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. Now, does intention come from the heart or mind?
From the will.
Hmm?
From the will.
And what is the will between mind and heart?
It's what's between mind and heart.
Okay.
Well, how are you using intention though?
It's not bad.
How are you using the word intention?
See, intention, let's talk about that. Everything happens through our intention. Believe it or not.
You're not using it as a want.
No, you're not using, we always have an intention.
Okay.
Okay, well, when I say always have an intention, most people have an intention all the time. For example, a woman came to see me, very attractive, beautiful, she's got money, she's got everything going for her, but she can't keep a relationship. Either she leaves them or they leave her. She's going from one relationship to another. And so then I used to do hypnotherapy, but now I do it more seated, conversing one-on-one. But at this particular point I hypnotized her, and she started relating one relationship after another, and I said, what is the pattern there? And then she came to it. She said, every time I have a relationship, my intention is this is not going to last anyway. You see? And she didn't realize it until we talked about it. So her intention is that it's not going to last. And of course, it always manifests. Your intention always manifests. Everything that is happening in your life is because somehow or other you placed an intention there.
So how does one get to the root? Like, she couldn't see that herself.
No, she
right?
couldn't see it.
Yeah.
She couldn't see it. Yeah. But she could also say one of the things that we have to see that in the 3 steps that we've covered, is that anything that happens to you, you create. Okay? You are creating your life all the time by how you think, but by how you see things. How real it is, no, it isn't real. But it is happening. Are you understanding me? Because the world that we think is real is all imagination. We know that, right? You all know that. Nothing is real. It's just all imagination. You know, but there are many books. But before the book was created, it was first an imagination in the mind of the writer. And then it was made into a tangible form. Similarly with chair, with wall, with houses, with everything. It was first in the mind. It existed. And then it manifested. So when the intention is very strong, like for example you have a very strong intention towards something, it always manifests. Always. It's inevitable, because that is the very power that we have. You see? So is that clear? So intention comes from mind. Intention does not come from the heart. You see that, right?
Does it have to end up going through the mind to process it before it comes out as a thought? Or does it can it bypass the mind?
No, it does not. It does not bypass the mind. You see, intention. Oh, how can I? We always have intentions because very similar to expectation. You know, like coming here to Satsang, you might not realize it, but even as you're approaching and coming, whatever it is that you're going to attend, you have some expectations in your mind. Or you have and then intentions become part of that. You see? Now, I expect that this is going to be like this, like this, like this. So my intention is, should I, how do I act with it? How do I go with it? So, okay, this is the process of the mind, how it works. When we become aware of what we are creating, wow.
Scary.
Yeah, but that very awareness of what we are creating with our mind, by making it real, this is what gives us power, you see, to live the spiritual life. And the only way to be aware of that is to be aware. In other words, to be as still as possible, to be as quiet as you can, to learn to observe, you see. Can we read one more?
Dear Burt, I'm writing to you because something very bad happened, and I'm full of self-hatred and guilt. Last week I just got a second job, a very good job. I was searching for that for the last 2 years. I was nervous, so I was taking some Valiums, and I was acting stupid, said wrong things. They fired me on the second day of the job. What an idiot I am. I just want to die. What a moron. I got in the car, in the car accident. My insurance went up. Why did I sabotage my happiness? Everything was going so great and I ruined it. Who did it? Consciousness? Was that predestined? Was it me? Am I not supposed to have that job? Why is it full of challenges? To wake me up? I just hate myself for what I have done. Help me please to understand that and wake up from the nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Well, incidentally, this was well read. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Do we see now how the mind works? Okay. Can we say something about that? What we've just heard. What can he do now at the present moment?
Forgive himself.
Hmm? Yes.
Or be with the feelings.
Okay.
Like you
How?
said, to feel what's going on instead of saying I'm stupid, I shouldn't have, it should have been different? Is it consciousness? Is it something else? Thinking he
So
should
how
change.
he is feeling about himself, right?
He should be with it, right?
Should be with it. Very good. And incidentally, that becomes forgiveness too. Okay? Because forgiveness is not a process. Forgiveness is not something to forgive. It is seeing that there's nothing to forgive. That's what forgiveness is.
And that's the being with.
That's the being. So you go back to being. You need do nothing. That's how simple it is. You see? So right now you saw the vicious circle, the way he is caught in, and then he got into a car accident, and then this happened, that happened. It's a vicious circle, and it keeps on escalating until he stops. But now he's figuring, is this fate doing this to me? You see? Okay. So we go back to healing, cellular memory, quantum healing. Okay? Just like you said, right? Is at that moment, the moment you are caught, the mind wants answers, but the answers are only words. Just like hearing here, Burt is not speaking the truth in the sense that these are just words. I'm pointing to the truth, yeah, but the truth can never be words. You see? The truth can never be words. The truth is here, awareness, being. So when things escalate to this point, okay, we can stop and be one with it. Enter into its essence. And that brings the healing. That brings balance, that brings clarity. And incidentally, when you have the courage to be still with whatever is happening and allow it, the answer will come, but it doesn't come with words. It will come in a way you probably never expected. You see? And it will show you clearly how simple it all was. That's what happened to me when I was in a conflicted relationship. And I thought I was going crazy, and I thought everything I've done was useless, meaningless. And then I said, oh, Bhagavan, help me. And then I realized there is nothing to know, there are no answers, there's nowhere to go, nothing to do but to be. In fact, I am a human being playing the human role of Burt. There is no Burt other than a name given to a form. I am. And that was so clear. That answered every question and everything that ever happened. That was complete in itself. You see? That is sometimes referred to as waking up. To see the simplicity and beauty of life. There's nothing to get, nothing to achieve, nothing to fix. There's only to see. You see? And to see that you just are. Sit still right now. Just look. Who are you right now? You're just here, isn't it? You're just aware. If a thought comes, you're aware of the thought. If a feeling comes, you're aware of the feeling. If your body moves, you're aware the body moves. But then you might say, I am the body. The body's changing all the time. All the time. You recycle the body all the time. See, but there's one thing that never, 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 ever changes. It is called the now, the awareness of now, this moment. See, and that's who you are. And as you become aware of is, that will give you all the wisdom and all the clarity to every situation and everything that arises. Can we read another?
If you just circled it, do you want me to just read the circled part?
That was if I circled it, it was because to me it was the important part that he or she is asking. But you might have to read the whole thing just to get the meaning.
Dear Burt, thank you so much for your reply. Lit up my day. I understood about life's basic constructs or scripts, and we as expressions with intent. Thank you. There comes a time when we are lost for words to describe experiences. During the past few days, I have had some intense moments with my mind or ego. After knowing the truth about being and how my mind is not actually me, my mind is now threatened. It makes me feel that the self I know is going to die. It makes me miss that person, through which it carries out its acts demanding sympathy and love for the self I have been all these years. I know I cannot fight and win with my mind, even if I ignore it. It comes back strongly whenever it gets a chance. Today I'm practicing to concentrate on my breathing whenever random thoughts come to mind. I'm struggling to keep my mind away. Any suggestions?
Mm-hmm. That was a very important one, and I'd like to discuss that too, because he asked a question that is in the mind of most people. Well, we talk about there is no me. But if the me is gone, where am I? What's left? What's left if the me is gone?
Aware presence.
Very good. Aware of presence. And you're more aware than when the me was there.
And more alive.
And more alive. Yeah. More alive. But that's the biggest fear, of losing the me. Why are we afraid of losing the me?
That implies death.
Implies death, right? Isn't it? Yeah.
Individuality.
Why are we afraid of death?
Unknown.
The unknown, isn't it? So that's what it all comes down to. That's what comes down. All fear is the unknown. You see? And what is the unknown?
You.
That's right. Awareness. Awareness is the unknown. You can never know awareness. Isn't it something? You're using it all the time. All the time. Even when you're in your deepest sleep, you're aware. But you might not be aware that you're aware at that point. But if the bell rings or somebody makes a noise, you get up, right? Which means, of course, that you are aware. But you're not aware that you're aware at that point. It's more subconscious awareness, but yet it's still there. It's always there. It's never not there. And that itself is the unknown. You can never know awareness. Awareness is too grand. You know, like I mentioned so many times before, and I never want to stop saying it. I mean, it's when a woman is pregnant and she has a fetus, who's creating those kidneys and eyes and heart and skin and circulation? It's a self-regulating and self-organizing process of awareness. You see? Or the earth rotating around the sun, creating the semblance of time. Who's creating that? Who's doing that? You see? Self-organizing.
And with the questions, there's this common thread of well, not knowing what the unknown is. So how the mind can't even comprehend functioning in the unknown. So there's such fear and just you want to hold on to the suffering because at least you have this identity.
That's right.
So why would you give up your suffering, you know?
Right. And that is the whole point. But when you begin to understand that the nothingness itself, listen to this, the nothingness itself is heaven, is joy, it's peace. What is peace? Where is it? It's nothingness. Like love. Love is not something. You see? Love takes on many forms, but there's nothing but love. But love is nothing. Love is emptiness. Love is the great void, which is, of course, is not a vacuum, because the vacuum is impossible. Someone made a statement to a wise man. He says, nature abhors a vacuum. Which means that a vacuum really cannot exist in reality. There's no such thing. Even the space right now, that we think there's a space, it's filled with billions of sound waves. And you can prove it by a cell phone. It rings, somebody, you can close all the windows, it still arrives. There's tremendous energies going on all the time. You don't see them, you don't hear them, but that doesn't mean they're not there. Just like one time a professor asked, he said, if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound? And people said that it does make a sound. It does not, because there has to be an ear to hear it. You see? But the sound waves are there. So if there's a rabbit, or if there's an animal there, then there is a sound to them because they hear it. But it itself, if there are no ears around, is just a sound wave. But there's no sound until there is a receptor to that sound. Got it? So everything is nothing. Everything is nothing. But it seems that there is something because of our senses. But our senses are not in our body. They are in our consciousness. You see? Many people have had, I have had, out-of-body experience. Fully conscious. Hearing, seeing, feeling, knowing, sensing. But the senses are, these senses are simply in the body using the consciousness. The body itself is not real. It is consciousness. It is made up of trillions and trillions of cells. And that's why healing happens when you take it to the cellular essence, to the cellular memory. And when you take it to that level and you enter it and become totally aware of what is happening, that very awareness itself is cleansing. Why are people in a mental home? Why do they go berserk? Many people go bonkers. Because they lock those feelings inside. You see? And when you lock feelings inside, they fester.
Trapped emotions.
Trapped. They become trapped. And when they are trapped, that's a form of insanity. Then you act in ways you don't even know you're acting. You can go berserk for no reason at all. All attacks, anxiety, panic, whatever, they're all locked emotions, locked feelings. And then whenever you feel them, you do the very thing, quote, you shouldn't. You resist it. Why am I suffering this? What's wrong with me? And then you go and take a drug yeah, it will pacify you, yeah, for the moment. But do you know the danger that it has done to your nervous system? It has killed your ability to feel. You see? So anyway. So would you like to read something else? So we understand here that when you ask, who am I really? Who's the me? What is the me? Anyone? Oh, I see.
Right, a small one.
Okay, pick an easy one.
Yeah. Hi, Burt. Okay, the English is funny here. If I wrote you an email if I could get a reply. I understand you're a very busy man, and I appreciate your time already that you've taken to read this. I would like to know how to keep being present. I was so inspired by your YouTube video on the human and the being. Thank you for your time.
Okay, how do we be present?
Just relax into the awareness.
Okay, and how do we do that?
Yes. No doing.
No doing, because you're always here.
Yeah.
You're always present. Just be aware that you're always present. The reason he asks how do you become present is because he's giving in to time consciousness, thinking about the past, thinking about the future. You see? But if you stop, you're right here. You're always here. You're always present. And when you become aware of that, there's nothing for you to do. Nothing. Did we read them all?
No, there's some more.
The top 3 have been read.
Really? 2, 3.
Oh, that's a circled one. Maybe that's been read.
What's been circles?
There's
Oh,
Yeah.
there's several circled. Okay.
One thing that doesn't sink in my heart easily is the script is written. Has that been read? My question is, every action you make in the linear time following the script. Oh, my question is, every action you make in the linear time following this script, or is there in your struggle with the ego always a separation from the given path, so when you reach the 0 point, you're back on track, so to speak? I don't know if my question is clear enough, but if, please help me to be more clear of what is. I'm not even sure if I read that clearly, but anyway.
I think he's saying, I think they're saying in the using the script is written must be something that you said is one thing that doesn't sink in my heart easily, the script is written.
Okay. Now we understand when we say, Course in Miracles says that too, and all great teachings. You know, Ramana Maharshi says the script is written. You know, he said, in other words, everything is predetermined, and it's true. The moment you are born, you're a man or a woman. You know, you have a particular zodiac sign, you have a numerology, you have a, your tendencies, inclinations are there. So the script is written. Okay, but it goes on that whatever you're doing, it's already predetermined. How's that? How's that fit in? Like if it's predetermined, then what's the point of doing anything? Right? Can we discuss that for a moment?
Nisargadatta says, I allow my destiny to unfold as it does. I'm paraphrasing right now. And I remain as I am. So the witnessing aspect doesn't change, but the body-mind unfolds and its
That's
destiny.
Right. See, all we can do, it's a very simple one, is called forgiveness. The Course in Miracles is called forgiveness, and I like that word too. Forgiveness is giving forth. It's not doing anything. It is seeing that there's nothing to forgive. It is just being. It is allowing. So therefore, when you allow everything that's happening, you accept what is. The moment you accept what is, you don't aggravate the situation. See, what happens most of the time is that when something, quote, we do not like happens to us, we complain. Oh, darn, and we mull over and worry about it and complain, which of course exacerbates the situation, it makes it worse, you see. And so we are caught in a treadmill here. But if we allow what happens, in other words, we forgive it, we forgive whatever is happening, that in itself collapses time in our favor. Okay? Do you know what I mean when I say collapsing time in your favor?
Well, it doesn't create the cycle, continue with the cycle like the person that talked about
the cycle, yeah.
that losing the job, the car accident, and now self-hatred, and it's going to continue.
Very good.
Unless you just accept what's happening, don't judge it, and just be present to it, and forgiveness will take place.
That's right.
Rather than continuing with the reaction.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you don't continue with the reaction, everything will automatically fall into place. You see? So the vicious circle actually stops right there. That's collapsing time in your favor, because right now it's not continuing on that same cycle. You're reaching a plateau of stillness now, of being. That's why the simplicity of true growth, which is total and radical acceptance of what is.
But when it falls into place, it's usually not what we want or expect how falling into place looks like.
Right, because again our me idea is things have to be in a certain way for me to be happy.
Right.
And we will find that if we allow whatever is to be what is, and go along with it, we'll find that the result is 10 times better than we expected. What makes us happy to be? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
In other words, it turns out to be better than we expected. And it always does. Always does that. Yeah.
We seem to think that we have some kind of control over our life, and that it should be a certain way. If it's not, then we struggle against it. And well, we're part of life. We're not this individual that thinks that it's going to get somewhere by doing it and has a certain right to be at a certain point. If it's not there, it's going to be dissatisfied, etc. Rather than just being with life as not as a separate entity.
Right, right. And that's also how we begin to feel our oneness, our unity, you see? Because many people ask, well, how am I going to realize my oneness? How do I realize that I am really God? You know, I am the ultimate, which you are. We all are, right? Because it's all one. How am I going to realize it? By simply starting to live it, seeing exactly like that. So like we pointed out before, you can't help, because I asked many times before, and I'm just repeating myself here, I says, what is it that you want more than anything? And people say, well, I want this and I want that, money, power, you know, or whatever. But the truth is that whatever you say you want, you're lying to yourself. Because what you really want is you. You see? Because if you say you want $1 million, who wants it? You. If you want to be enlightened, who wants it? You. Okay? But the paradox about enlightenment means that there's no you. That's what enlightenment is.
It's a disappointment to the you, if there
The
was
disappointment to the you, if there was one. Right. Okay, yeah. So that's it. So it's life to be lived in a very simple way called being, to be. You're being, playing the human role. Now as you allow that, you begin to see that everybody is you in a different form. And that's called love. That's called the understanding and the clarity. Did you read them all?
There's more here. Anybody want to carry on?
You guys, go ahead.
There's lots of them.
There you go.
I have always thought sincerely that I love myself, but my current anxiety is difficult. The worst thing is I don't know I'm anxious about. It's just there. I get upset when I think of it in terms of having turned against myself, as though something inside me is deliberately hurting me. I am supposed to be on the same side as me, if that makes sense. All parts of me should be fighting towards the same goal, self-love and joy. Your videos talk about love being all there is, but how I am, about how my emotional problems are obsession with thought rather than awareness, the ego rather than our true self. It all makes sense, but when I feel like this, I don't know how to implement any of it. It's like I understand the theory, but it doesn't help when I need it to. Is there any practical advice you can give when one feels low or anxious to help the situation? Thank you constantly for your kind support. I really am truly grateful.
That was beautiful, yeah. When you're caught, you lose everything you thought you knew. People say, I'm aware, I've read books, I know all the answers, you know, and I hear it very often. You know, and then they say, well, when I'm anxious, it's just I don't know anything. In truth, you don't know anything then. You see? So what can you do? What can you do when you are anxious and suffering and you're caught and...
Nothing.
Hmm?
Nothing.
You do nothing but go back into that center. Okay? So this is where I was talking about the cellular healing, the quantum state of being. Okay? You do nothing, absolutely nothing. Now this, when I'm talking about this, you're really not really doing anything. You're listening. You see? You just listen. There's no need to get rid of it. There's not even a wish that it was different. You just, for a few moments, be with what is, as it actually is. And the moment you allow it, that very allowing itself will bring not only the healing, but it's amazing, you'll begin to understand things you never understood before. And what is the greatest understanding there is?
Self.
Hmm?
Of the self.
Understanding there's nothing to understand. It just is. Because the self just is, you see. Capital S, of course, yeah. It just is the isness of being. Mm. When I was a kid, and if I was a good boy, the priest used to say, you know, bless you, my child. So I felt like blessing everything. Okay, so I guess we have done them all, right?
No, there's more there.
I think so.
All of them? Oh, okay.
Have we
Yeah.
done them all?
Okay, namaste.
Oh.
Namaste.
Mm.